Hello.
Hi.
You just opened your chips, David.
We told David he had to eat them.
He's making extra sound. Thanks, David.
Anyways.
You better be the most quiet person.
Hello.
Hello, everybody.
Welcome back to
Welcome
another
back.
podcast episode.
Welcome back. I haven't said
Episode-
welcome back to Forward Faith Podcast. I don't think I've ever said that ever. Have I?
I don't think so.
Welcome back to Forward
We
Faith
haven't said our name
Podcast.
since like the 5th episode or something.
I think we've said our names. We
Since the
haven't said.
first?
Yeah, since the
I'm
first episode.
Julianne.
And I'm Felipe. And
If you're
this
new,
is-
which you aren't.
Oh, and this is Forward Faith Podcast. Thank you for joining us for
Thank
another
you for
episode.
joining us.
We're in episode 26.
2-6.
26.
I choked on my granola.
Wait, David, the timer's backwards. That's funny.
David.
It's okay. That's funny.
No, it's okay.
No, it's fine.
Anyway,
Yeah, welcome to Forward Faith.
welcome back to our
Podcast.
podcast.
And today we're going to talk about something cool.
Something
Dark.
deeper. Not dark. It's not dark.
It's not dark. I don't know why. I said that earlier,
Mhm.
too. I don't know why I said that.
It's not
It's not
dark.
dark. Okay.
Anyway.
We're talking about working through our fears.
Wow.
We can start floating.
Anyway,
Yes.
that's what we're talking about today. So,
Yep.
first question, we're going to get right into it. Oops, I hit this.
Why would you hit?
We're going to get right into it today. This episode
Yes.
with a serious question. Felipe,
Yes, ma'am.
what are you afraid of?
Oh. Okay, I'm sorry I did that. There's a few things. I think primarily just because of the way I grew up and the way my culture says certain things need to happen at a certain age. I mean, don't get me wrong. This is like an on and off kind of thing in a way.
Mm.
But yeah, like one of the biggest things that I'm sorry.
David's munching.
I know David's munching. Anyway, yeah, one of the biggest things that I'm afraid of is to be by myself.
Like not get married.
Like, yeah, like not get married, not have any kids, not any of that. Not having somebody, because it's different when you have friends
Mhm.
than when you're married, and because it's like it's a whole different level of relationship, and because I don't know, to me that's having a marriage and your relationship with your kids is one of the most precious relationships that you will have in your life. I believe so. And so I think that's one of the things, that's one of the major things that I'm afraid of. And it's not that I actively think about it like all the time,
Mhm.
but then there's like things that happen around me where I'm just like, that'd be so nice.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to like, but at the same time, and that actually adds that second part of the question, like, God, how has God helped me? How has God helped you through those fears? With this one specifically, I mean, honestly, after my last relationship, I think honestly, after my last relationship was when I actually like gave that fear to God, where I was just like, you know what, God, I mean, whatever happens, happens. Whenever I meet the one, is gonna be the one, and that's it. And but yeah, so I mean, again, not saying that it's not hard and that I don't like have tough times, but I mean, I've honestly given that to God, and even though it's one of my biggest fears, I'm also okay with the fact if I don't end up having a family, don't end up getting married, that's okay. As long as I got God, honestly, that's all I
Mhm.
need,
Yeah.
But that's still a fear that sometimes happens. But I have something in mind. That's probably one of the biggest ones that I can think of right now. What about you? What are you afraid of?
Um, a lot, but I
Mhm.
also have like anxiety, so
That is
you
true.
know.
Yeah, yeah,
But
that
I
is
so
true. So it's a
it's
little
been
bit
hard for me
different.
to like think about like what I'm actually scared of.
Uh-huh.
I think I'm really scared of like letting people down. I think
Mm.
is a big one. Or just like hurting people, which is like that's gonna sound like, oh, I'm like scared of, but like, but
I just thought of one, but anyway, go ahead.
but yeah, I am like really like conflict really scares me. I don't like hurting other people. And like I don't like it when people don't like me. So because I'm a people pleaser, which is a terrible thing to be in most cases. I mean, it's good to anyway, but yeah. So I think I'm scared of letting people down, or also just like hurting other people or anything that would like create conflict between me and someone when I knew it
Yeah.
was like my fault in a way. Like I don't like that. Um so I think that's what I'm really scared of. I'm younger though, so it's not like something I think about a lot, but my
Mhm.
like dream in life is also to just like get married and have a bunch of little babies running around. Like that's like my biggest like I want that more than anything.
Yeah.
So that I'm also scared of, but I don't think about it a lot cuz I am younger, so like I'm
Yeah.
only 19, so I have all the time in the world to like
Yeah.
figure
Well,
that out or find someone. So
that's like the cultural difference too, because like
yeah.
a lot, almost. I mean, you can ask like in the Mexican culture, if you're getting married late, like you're like super late to the game.
Yeah.
Like everybody, not everybody, and I'm not speaking for the entire community, but like at least where I grew up and the people around me when I grew up, I mean, they all got married young. They all
Mhm.
had kids young. Like the oldest one that I can think of right now is like, I mean, even my dad was kind of old when he had kids, and he was 25. He was old to have kids. My mom was 19, and he was old to
Mhm.
have kids. And I mean, don't get me wrong, it's also a lot worse for women because they're like, at least in my culture, it's a lot worse for women because I mean, like guys can just have babies until they're a lot older,
Mhm.
but like
Women.
with women, it's
Yeah.
like once you hit your 30s, it's like, oh my gosh, you can never have babies ever
Yeah.
again, and
Well, it
you're
does get
labeled as
harder.
old. Yeah, it does,
Yeah.
but that's what I'm talking about, where like you get labeled as like
Mhm.
an old person that
Wow.
will never have babies. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
Yeah.
like it's that sort of like pressure again, worse for women, but
Yeah. But
similar.
yeah, so that's not something I'm like I think about a lot, but it is a fear that I have of like
Hmm.
I'm never, like I'm never gonna find love,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
yeah. But yeah, I think a way that God kind of helps me work through it is like something that He put in my mind a couple months ago when I was like, there have been a lot going on in my life recently,
Hmm.
and it's just been like super chaotic. But something God like put in my mind was like, no matter what happens, like I'll be okay. Like
Hmm.
so I have to keep remembering that, like, okay, maybe, like, I'm a human, so maybe I'll hurt someone or there will be conflict, but like, no matter what happens, like, I'm gonna be okay and I'm gonna forget about it. Cause like, there have been times that like I have had conflict with people or have hurt other people's feelings in my past, and I'm still
Hmm.
here and I'm still good. And, like,
Hmm.
I think just putting it into perspective, I do that a lot. And I think that's a way that God kind of reminds me of like things. Cause
Hmm.
with anxiety, it can get really easy to just like get in your head and like spiral and not really look at it from like an outside perspective. But that's something that God kind of helps me look through is like, okay, how do I see, like, how would God see it? Like, knowing that like God knew this was gonna happen, and and then looking at it like when I'm 40, like I'm not gonna be upset about
Yeah.
hurting this person's feelings anymore. Like so that is something I'm scared of, and I'm still working through. But like if I hurt someone's feelings, like all I can do is apologize, and
Hmm.
But when I'm 40 years old, I'm not gonna
Yeah.
still be like upset about this. So just
Yeah.
kind of that helps me.
Yeah. Yeah, and one thing that I thought of when you were talking
Mhm.
about that is also like, because I have an um I have a constant fear of like disappointing people.
Mhm. Me too.
Not in a people pleaser way, but like in a way of like, I know how hard I can work, or how hard I can invest in whatever it is,
Mhm.
and and if I know it's my fault that it failed or something like that, then that's the worst.
Yeah.
That's what, whenever I take on anything big or any sort of project or any sort of thing, like I put that pressure on myself because I'm like, okay, like if this was my idea and this was like something that either I felt God, tell me to do or whatever it may be, just that fear that, and it's not that like disappointment, like how can I explain this? Like it's not like for example, the podcast, right? Yeah,
Mhm.
it wasn't like completely my idea. Like we
Mhm.
all talked about it, but like for me, the measure of disappointment, it's not like if people watch this or not.
Yeah.
For me, it's more of like if we're talk if we're learning from each other and absorbing whatever it is that we're talking with each other, and we're learning from each other, and that's that's what matters to me.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, like it would be cool, I guess, for like a lot of people to watch this or a lot of people to like be affected by this or anything like that. But that's not like the point in
Mhm.
my eyes. And so
Yeah.
like it's weird how I navigate disappointment in different
Mhm.
situations. But yeah, that's and the way that God works with me through that is um primarily he puts people in my life that give me a different perspective or that make me think about it in a different way.
Mhm.
Um, because I tend to put the pressure and the fault on myself for a lot of things, and a lot of things are also beyond my control.
Yeah.
So I know God places people, or even He Himself just tells me like, bro, like it wasn't your fault. Like
Mhm.
like you couldn't do anything about it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Um, but it's still like it's still something. But that's how he helps me through that sort of fear. Is he just brings people? He just has people tell me, or he tells me himself. Um, but yeah, just thought about that. Anyway, so we're gonna read. No, now we're gonna be going back and forth about obviously what the Bible says about fear. And so right now, Julianne, if you could read Second Timothy 1 verse 7, and
Okay.
go ahead.
2 Timothy 1 verse 7 says, it's super short. For God gave us a spirit of fear, but no, he didn't. I'm gonna give me a second. Literally
Read
do it again.
it.
For God gave us a spirit not of fear, but of power and love and self control.
Mhm,
Mhm.
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 Those are those counter actions, right? Power, love, and self control.
Yeah.
Um, it's one of well, yeah. I mean, it's those those not counter options, but it's the counter to fear.
The
Um,
opposite.
oh yeah,
It's
no,
the
not the
opposite.
opposite. No, like what I'm imagining is like things that you do to help you
Oh, to
with your
like,
fear.
got it.
You know what
Okay.
I mean?
Yeah.
That's how I'm thinking about it. I don't know how
Yeah.
are you thinking about it.
No, that's how I was too. I was just confused to
Oh,
what you were saying.
yeah, because I can't English sometimes, but that's okay.
It's not your first language.
Yeah, that's true. Anyway,
Mhm.
doesn't matter. Um, so yeah, like for example, power. You know, we can only do so much as humans,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to our fears. There has to get a point. There has to be a point where we give those fears to God, right? Because He gives us His power,
Mhm.
and He's the one that can take care of those. Um, and yeah, you can do it as a human, and it'll only be temporary because that's just how everything in this world is. But for real power and um, I guess you could say like almost deliverance from that
Mhm.
is comes from Him, not from us.
Yeah.
Right? That's
Well,
just one of the three. But anyway,
yeah, I think like we'll get into it in a little bit, but
hmm
I think like there's a difference between like peace from God and peace from the world
yeah.
because I won't say too much because we are going to talk about it later. But my leg cramped because I was sitting crisscross. Anyways, um, but yeah, I think the world is just filled with like fear. and
Mhm.
anxiety and everything that is not good.
Yeah.
Because all good things come from the Lord. The Bible says that every good thing comes from above, and every good thing comes from above.
Mm.
It's very interesting. Anyway, sorry. I'm
Yeah.
like having like a revelation. Anyway,
Okay. You can talk about
but
that.
when we look like to the like if we're like keep worrying about the things that we can't control, that's not good for us, because
Mhm.
usually things we can't control are like what's of the world. What we can
Yeah.
control is like our relationship with God and our actions and our relationships with other people. But we can't control what other people are going to do and what other people are going to say. And if we keep
Yep.
worrying about the things we can't control, then it's just going to
Mhm.
keep spiraling.
And that's where the self-control
Yeah,
comes, because, like,
exactly.
if you keeping yourself in a situation where you're having anxiety about it, you're worrying about it, like, obviously, you're not gonna get rid of it.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's not gonna go away, because you're when there's yeah, like you just said, there's certain things we can't control, certain things we can't,
Yeah.
and the things that we can control, we need to control.
Yeah. But I think that's also something that can be hard for people, especially in my experience with like,
Mhm.
anxiety and stuff.
Of course, yeah.
Is like when you have things like you can control like what situations you're a part of. And like in my experience, like I can get really anxious about like, oh well, if I let this go, like this will happen, this will happen. And I'll like think
Mhm.
about every like certain thing that's gonna happen if I let this thing go.
Yeah.
So it can feel safer to like cling on to
Of
it, but
course.
then it causes more fear and it's harder to work through it because
Mhm.
things are just gonna keep getting worse.
Yeah.
So it can be really hard to let it go, but once we let it go, God can fill us with that peace. Because God can't you peace and fear cannot like if you're
Live
in a
in the same place.
situation where you're like living in fear, there isn't gonna be peace that there just won't be peace.
Yeah.
So you have to leave a situation in order for God to fill you with like peace.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Mhm. Anyway.
Sorry. Um, I just yeah. But yeah, you're right. And going back to that Second Timothy one, where this power and love and self control. Love, I mean, love is the we've talked about. We've done a whole episode about love. We've
Yeah.
talked about love. I've talked about love in youth groups, Sunday mornings. Everybody's talked about love
Mhm.
because it's the epicenter of who Jesus was,
Yeah.
and and that's also part of those working through fears. And go and moving on to the next part is to give our fears to God
Yeah.
and what that looks like. Um and that's and that's the not the crazy thing, but like the really cool thing is that we can always call, like, I don't know, maybe I think people forget, but like we can we can call out to God, you know? We
Yeah.
can call out to him and have him help us through whatever it is that we're going through.
Mhm.
Whatever fear that is holding us back, whatever. And this is also the other thing is that I believe so, is that I think that that Christians, I don't know, actually, I don't know. I think everybody just feels, I mean, specifically Christians, I guess. Because I think I'm saying Christians because they understand the idea of the Holy Spirit and conviction. That's the only reason why I'm
Mhm.
saying Christians. I feel like everybody has this sort of thing, but I think as Christians and understanding what conviction means and what the Holy Spirit does in our life, this is why I say that Christians. But I think um, when we feel and we know when we're either doing something wrong or we're not we're not doing it the right way, because the right way is to go to God,
Yeah.
right? And yeah, there's certain parts of the way that you talk about with your community, with your friends, with your pastors, whatever it may be, but the primary thing is should be to go to God, because like I said earlier, and like how we're going to talk about later in the episode as well, is anything in this world that gets rid of that fear is only temporary. Whether it's your friends, um, whether it's whatever it is. I mean,
Mhm.
honestly, whether it's alcohol, whether it's drugs, I don't know. Whatever it is that you do to get rid of that fear, all of that is temporary.
Yeah.
It's not. Um, and 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 kind of going back to like what you're saying about like anxiety, because that's different. There's like uh there's obviously there's anxieties that the Bible talks about, but there's like mental health anxiety that's something different. Um, but what was I gonna say? I lost I
I
lost
don't
my
know.
thought. But yeah, do you have something?
No.
Okay.
I'm so
No,
sorry.
you're fine.
I'm sorry.
We're gonna read Psalm 34:4. Um, I sought the Lord, and He answered and delivered me from all of from oh and delivered me from all my fears. I can talk, okay.
Okay.
Okay. And so yes, so I sought the Lord, and He answered me.
Mhm.
The focusing on that first part is reaching out to God to help us,
Yeah.
right? Uh, and the hardest the there's two in my eyes. There's two hardest things about giving fears to God. The first one is actually giving it to Him, right? Because it's comfortable, because yeah, at some it can make you feel good. It's comfortable. One, that's the first hard step, right? And the second hard step is to give it to is giving it back to him again.
Mhm.
Because we tend to give it to him, and then we're like, oof, actually, yeah, I think I'm gonna take it back. And then you take it
Yeah.
back and then re-giving it to him because you're like, I already gave it to him, so why would he want it again?
Yeah.
But he wants it every single time.
And he doesn't get mad also,
No.
like, when you take it back. He's very understanding, and he knows that we struggle, and so he's not gonna be like, "You gave that to me
Why are
already!"
you taking it back?
Like, he's not obviously, he's not gonna be, like, happy about it,
Yeah.
you know? It breaks his heart when we struggle with that
Yeah.
kinda stuff, but he's understanding and gentle with us, and
He's gentle, which is
yeah, which is so nice.
yeah.
But he will take it back every time.
Yeah.
And he will never give it back to you if
Yeah.
he knows it's
It's
bad for
always
you.
it's always us
It's always
humans taking
us.
it back.
Yeah. But we can't just expect God to take it from us either, you know? We have to seek him, and
Mhm.
we have to be the ones to do it, because we have to have some sort of self-control, and we have to take that first step.
Mhm.
Sometimes if it's like really hurting you, God will send something like, because to like give us a little nudge, but it has,
Sometimes a slap in the face.
yeah,
Not literally, but
well,
you know.
sometimes. I'm just kidding.
What?
Sorry, I don't know. Because I'm really tired and I'm going to start saying things that don't make sense. And I'm just saying that in advance. Anyways, but we have to be the ones to seek out God, and like, we
Mhm.
have to actually say out loud and acknowledge, like, this is not good for me. This is hurting me, and I need you
Mhm.
to take it from me, you know?
Yeah.
And then we have to, like, actually, like, you can't just be like, God, take it from me. And then, like,
Hold on to it.
go, like, keep it. Like, we have to take that step, let it go, ask God to take it,
Mhm.
and then try to have that
Well,
self
yeah.
control of,
Well, and I mean, and that whole thing ties in with like trusting God,
yeah,
having faith in God, and um, yeah.
yeah,
I was gonna say something and I forgot.
yeah. But if you're like, you're all youth, so you're hopefully not gonna have this. But like, if you're like an alcoholic, right? And you're
Mhm.
like, God help me not to be an alcoholic anymore. But then you keep the alcohol, and
You still go out with
you
your
still go
friends
out
at
with
the
your friends.
bar.
You have alcohol in your house. Like, you don't put those boundaries up. God can't do anything about that. He's not gonna
Yeah,
be like, he
because he
can't like slap it out of your
yeah.
hand, so you
That would
have
be kind of cool.
that would be
Anyway.
kind of cool, just like it flies out of your hand. That'd be crazy. Anyway, so you have to, if you're serious about it and you're like, God, take this away
Mhm.
from me, you have to take that next step of like getting rid of it, like setting
Mhm.
up those boundaries. Like, I value our friendship, but I can't go to the bar with you anymore. Like, like
Yeah.
you have to put that up, so God can
Yeah.
help you work. He helps very much like emotionally and spiritually. We have to do that physical part of like removing
Mhm.
ourselves from the
Yeah.
situation so that God can heal us inside, you know?
Yeah.
Because we're still human, so we're still gonna desire because it's comfortable, and, you know, typically if it's something is bad for you, you've been in it for a while.
Mhm.
So um, it's gonna be it's comfortable and it's the things of the world are addicting because
Sin is
sin
addicting.
is addictive. So that's just how it's gonna
Yeah.
be. But I don't remember where I was going with that. What was I saying?
Well, no, no, no. You were talking about that.
Oh
We have
yeah,
to have.
but
Yeah.
um yeah, we have to have that again, that self-control, and then 2, 1, get rid of it, and also the self-control to seek God and like admit that like this is really hard and I need you to help me, you
Hmm.
know?
Yeah. It's part of that process. It's um it's kind of and we've had an episode about anxiety and like casting our anxieties on
Mhm.
him and talking about the difference in there, but fears and I mean and that's the I think in my eyes that's how I see the difference between fears and anxieties is fears like you will freeze.
Mhm.
I don't know, that's how I see it. Like with if you're afraid of something, you're either gonna freeze or you're gonna run away,
Mm.
right? And so, um, so so whether whichever one you do, I think that's the different fears and anxiety. Because anxieties, it's it's like emotional and mental, um, but as like fears, I don't know. Like that's how I don't know how else to explain
It's
it. Like
a
that's how I
hard
see it.
way, like, you have to, like I don't know, it's really hard to explain the difference because they
Hmm.
sound really similar, but they feel very different. So
Yeah,
that's why
they
it's,
feel
like it's
different.
really hard to describe it because it's, like, all feeling.
Yeah.
So that we're really no help there because because they do, like, the definitions are almost exactly the
Hmm.
same and, um, like, they're talked about in very similar ways in the Bible, but, like, they're like, if you've felt both, you know what
You
the
know,
difference is, and
yeah,
it's really hard to explain.
yeah,
So,
you
that's
know
our
the
bad,
difference.
but
That's our bad.
that's our bad.
Well, if somebody knows how to explain it,
Yeah, let us
please
comment below.
talk to us.
Comment, talk to us,
'Cause
and we'll
I'm
explain
actually
it.
quite interested
Yeah.
to
I
know.
need someone that, like, has, like, really thought about this and
Yeah,
researched this to, like, explain to me the real
yeah,
difference, and then I don't
and then
know, and then, you know?
and then
And then.
all right. So I'm gonna read John 14:27, and then we'll move on to that last part
Mhm.
that we've touched on a couple times already. It says, "For oh, I was reading the wrong. Peace I leave with you. Peace I leave with you. My peace I give to you. Not as the world gives, do I give to you. Let not your hearts be troubled, near let them be afraid."
Listen, the world can give peace,
Yeah,
but it
definitely
is
can.
temporary. Like, you can feel peace hanging out with your friends,
Hmm.
or you can feel peace, I don't know, mind numbingly scrolling through Instagram or
Hmm.
TikTok or something, because that does give endorphins and endorphins?
I don't know.
I don't know. It gives you something that makes you like
Is it
forget about
endorphins?
everything, and it can be mistaken for peace because you can kind of like forget
It's more
about what's
like
going on.
numbness.
Yeah, yes. Yes, yeah. The world gives you like can kind of like numb what's going on,
Yep.
but it doesn't get rid of your issues because then you're going to be alone again and still feel that hurt and still feel whatever it is you're going through. But with God, he gives a peace that like the Bible says so many times like surpasses all
Yeah,
understanding.
it's
Like
almost unexplainable.
yeah, like no matter what you're going through, if you are strong in your faith, like you're just going to be not like like yeah, you'll be okay. Like
Yeah,
it'll be hard because obviously we still have struggles, but like there's like this
yeah,
peace that just like is there for like no reason.
yeah.
It's kind of
The
strange.
the best. I don't know because I experienced that when I so when I made that decision to go into full time ministry, uh, I like went at my previous job. I went in and told my boss about that. Um, and like right after I had an anxiety, not an anxiety attack, I had a panic attack
Mhm.
because I was leaving like something that I'd been working. Anyway, but during that time, like I asked God for His peace. Like even before I even talked to my boss, even before I even did any of this. Um, but like, but after I did that and I went outside and started having a panic attack, um, I started like praying out loud,
Mhm.
and it was like the only way that I can explain the peace of God is just that you just feel like everything's gonna be okay.
Yeah, even if
You
like
know?
your world is like
Yeah,
falling
even the
apart,
world is
like
crumbling
you
apart.
still feel
Yeah. So like it was something that it was surreal. But that's like the best way. And for those who have experienced it, you know exactly what I'm talking about too.
yeah.
Because it's like you're at 1 second you're like your mind is just going, and then next second it's just not that it's blank, but it's just like mellow,
Mhm.
and it's just you're just like okay, like
Yeah.
all right, like I'm
Cuz
gonna be
like
good,
yeah.
you know.
Cuz I think the feeling of numbness is like blank kind of. Like
Hmm.
you
Yeah, that's like you don't think
don't
about
really
anything.
think about anything or feel anything. You're just kind
Hmm.
of like
I.
you know. But like with peace it's like I think peace and joy kind of coexist. I
Hmm.
think when you feel peace, it brings you joy too cuz you're like
Yeah.
there's nothing to worry about. Like you feel
Hmm.
like everything's going to be okay and like when you feel that, it's like
Hmm.
why wouldn't I be happy right now, you
Yeah.
know? So I think they coexist. Coincide? Is that what I'm trying to say? That's what I'm trying to say, but I don't think it's the right
Does it
word to
coincide,
use.
David? You're the elder in this room.
I don't think it is. I think I'm saying the
Coexist.
wrong word. I think coexist makes more
Wait,
sense.
he's gonna talk.
Oh.
Oh,
Oh.
I think it's coexist
I think that makes more sense in the
because I don't know
context
what
of what I'm
coincide
saying.
means. So
I don't remember either. It's just what my brain wanted to say, but I don't think it's right.
But you coincide is together at the same time.
That's what I'm saying.
but isn't
Coincide.
coexist the
Yeah,
same
coexist
thing?
is also like that too.
Anyway,
Yeah, we have no
it's
idea.
one of those.
One of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's what I have to say about that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, I've said this probably like 3 times at this point, and and she said it like twice. We're gonna still repeat the same thing. Stuff from the world is temporary.
Yeah.
And another thing that I think is important to say is stuff from the world will feel good because that's
Yeah.
what sin is.
Sin feels good
Yeah.
temporarily.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like sugar. You know how sugar is like really bad for you,
if you
but
eat
it
a lot
tastes
of it.
so freaking good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it is. I
That's
mean,
a good
natural sugar, like
comparison.
fruit and stuff, has natural sugar, and that's good for you.
But
But like
like
if you just eat like
spoons.
spoonfuls of like sugar at
Yeah.
a time, or just like in general,
It
like
ta- and,
it
and
tastes so good.
and that's what that's a good like if it's a imagine you're a child, right? I don't know why I
Mhm.
said that so loud. But
Imagine.
when you're a child and your parent gives you a spoon of sugar, of course you're gonna eat it, right? You're gonna be
Yeah.
like, oh heck yeah, I love sugar.
Yeah.
And then the second spoonful, you'll probably still be like, okay, like this
Oh,
still
yeah.
tastes so good,
This is
right?
still good.
The third one, you'll be like, okay, this tastes good, but like my stomach is kind of hurting,
Mhm.
maybe. And then the fourth one, you're like, I mean, I'll eat it, but like my stomach is really
Mhm.
hurting. So like that's like the same thing. It's like
Yeah.
initially it feels good, and but it's only temporary.
But also the problem with that is too is like, because like after that you'd be like, I'm never doing this ever again because it made my stomach hurt so bad.
Yeah.
But the more time that passes, you're gonna forget the pain, but you're gonna remember how good it tasted. You
Mhm.
know. So you're gonna be like, well,
Well,
maybe I was over
I
exaggerating
mean,
a
my
little
stomach
bit.
only
Like
hurt for like a day.
it's
so
fine. And then
fine.
you're gonna do it again, and then it's
Yep.
gonna keep hurting you. So
Yep.
which is the same with sin. Like you sin and it feels really good. Like
Mhm.
sin is just it feels good.
Mhm.
And it's tempting and everybody does it.
Yeah.
You're gonna sin and then it's gonna hurt you and you're gonna be like, well, it's gonna feel good at first. You'll be like, this is pretty cool.
Pretty
This is
good.
pretty good. And then the more you do it, you'll be like, oh, this is not as good as I
Yeah.
remembered it. And then you're gonna be like, okay, I don't want to do this anymore. But then you'll be like, but wait.
But it feels
But it
kinda
felt good the first time. So then you'll do it again. So, but
Yeah.
that's what it is with the worldly piece is like at first
Yeah.
it's like, okay, this is gonna get me through. Like this feels good. But the more you do it,
Mhm.
the harder it gets. With
Yeah.
Jesus, it's like it's harder to tell at first because it's different because with the world it's like immediate kind of it's like an immediate fix almost, but with
I
God
was
it's
gonna
like
say that, yeah.
it's a transformational thing. So
A
it starts
process.
out smaller because you have to take little baby steps to get there. So
Mhm.
it's gonna seem like harder at first, but the end result is so much greater
Yeah.
and you're gonna feel so much better than with
Mhm.
the worldly stuff because that just makes you feel like crap all the time.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I was gonna say. Like, peace, peace from God is a process.
Mhm.
It can sometimes be immediate. Like, it can sometimes, like, for example, what happened to me, it was immediate. Yeah, I prayed about it for like a few days, but
Mhm.
it was, well, not a few days, but like,
Yeah.
some time. But it was immediate for me right after that conversation with my boss. But sometimes there's things in our life that we can't let go as easily as something like that, or whatever it is for you that is hard for you to let go. Um, whether it's fears or sin or whatever that may be, it's a process,
Yeah.
and the world is just becoming more instant gratification,
Mhm.
which is why which is why people, well, I mean, and us too as humans, we rather go to the world than to work with God because it's instant.
Yeah.
You feel that instant relief or that instant peace for a little bit,
Yeah.
or
But it will
instant
just end up
numbness.
hurting you.
Yeah, exactly. But at the end of the day, it will just end up hurting you. And so when you learn how to give those fears to God and let Him bring peace instead of fear, yes, it's a process. Yes, it's going to require work from you. That's 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 with anything. But the like how you said, the end result is just something that is just like, it's just like amazing.
Yeah.
And it's not like you're just gonna become like this person that just doesn't worry about anything or anything like that. Like, again, it's also a process. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, like you can give God a certain fear that's maybe it's a little bit small, and you can be like, okay, well, I can give this to Him, and then the 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 reason for that is like you start little by little, and then eventually you get to the bigger stuff, and
Mhm.
then just God just keeps filling you with peace rather than with fears.
Yeah. And yeah, I agree. So, I want to like go over the steps one more time to like
Sure.
working through your fears. We start off with like admitting that something is
Yeah.
hurting you because you can't get rid of it if you don't know that it's hurting you. So, I
Yeah.
think that's
So,
probably,
and I also, I actually, sorry, I'm
yeah.
sorry to interrupt you, but I challenge you guys to pray to God and ask Him
Yeah.
what
Cause
is that.
sometimes you don't know.
Yeah, sometimes you don't know.
Sometimes, yeah.
So just pray to Him and ask Him what are those fears.
Yeah. You
Like
gotta,
ask Him to point it out.
yeah. You have to acknowledge and take the time to acknowledge
Yeah.
what is actually hurting you and why it's hurting you so much.
Hmm.
And then And then next, you have to seek God and ask Him, like, because again, if just because you acknowledge it doesn't mean He's going to take it from you. You
Yeah.
actually have to do the work of asking Him to do it.
Yep.
So you have to, because if you're like, oh, this is hurting me,
All right.
all right, like that's not gonna help you at all. That actually will probably just make it worse because then you're
Hmm.
gonna be in a situation you know is hurting you and you're not doing anything about it, so you're just gonna feel bad about yourself.
Hmm.
Anyway, so you have to you have to acknowledge
Yep.
that something is hurting you, and then you have to seek God and ask Him to take it from you, and then you have to step away from it and let God do what He needs to do, and then ultimately you will feel at peace,
Hmm. And then just do it again.
and then just keep doing it.
Yeah. And it's hard.
Yeah, but like anything,
And
everything is
I
hard.
mean, there's still things that I have, whether it's fears or sin, that I still haven't given to God because it's hard.
Yeah,
It's really hard. It's super easy to be comfortable in it, and it's hard to just step away from it.
but that's why it's good that He's patient because He's not gonna,
Mhm.
be like, you have to give this to me, right? Well, sometimes He will.
Sometimes He will, and
Sometimes-
sometimes He'll slap you.
Yeah, sometimes I've had times where I get like this like overwhelming sense of conviction that's like,
Yep.
this is literally going to destroy you if you don't get rid of it like in the next 24 hours.
Yeah.
You're just, because He knows the future and He knows
Yeah.
when it's getting too hard for you. And because,
Yeah.
He can see, obviously, He knows everything. So He knows if like, if you stay in this
Mhm.
another month, like you're just going to fall
Mhm.
apart,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, sometimes He will give you that conviction of like,
Yeah.
you need to get rid of this, but He still won't do it for you. But He
Yeah.
will nudge you and push you, but you have to do the work,
Yeah.
even though it's hard. But it's got to be something you do. It's how we grow as people.
Mhm.
We have to do hard things to be able to grow.
Like growing pains and whatever.
Yeah, yeah,
Is that what it's called?
yeah,
Yeah.
Growing pains.
When you're a
Yeah.
baby.
yeah. When you are growing as a person, your muscles are gonna hurt because
Same way.
you're growing up, and you have to hurt to be able to grow, and that's the same
Mhm.
with your mental growth too. your your personal growth. That's what I was looking
Yes.
for. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us on episode 26 of Working Through Your Fears. Woo! Yeah.
Yeah. pretty
Anyway,
much.
thank you for joining us this week.
We don't have a question
We
today.
don't have a question.
We are not very smart and ran out of questions.
No, not that we're not smart. It's like the same thing with the youth. Okay,
yeah,
so
we asked too many questions.
every Wednesday for like the longest time, I would just ask a question. I had this like web page, like that I got the questions from. It was like 500 questions to ask, right?
Mhm.
And with the combination of like Sunday, Wednesday, and like just conversations, like they were all used. I was like 500 questions. We're gonna go through that in like 10 years probably.
Yeah, that
No,
didn't.
that didn't happen. That did not happen at all.
Yeah, we ran out in like 2 months, and now we never know what to say.
Yeah,
and that's like the same now. Like we asked all the questions. We
Yeah.
found interesting.
But-
now we have no
But
idea.
we'll find one next time.
If you have ideas,
Please comment.
tell us, comment, tell us in person
Yeah.
things you want to know about us,
Yeah.
and we will answer those questions.
And also, always, it's always open to give suggestions to what
Yes,
you guys
please.
want us to talk about.
Yes.
Because obviously, we want to talk what you guys want to hear. And anyway, so feel free to comment or come talk to us. And we'll see you on the next one.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.